Good afternoon or morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the final webinar of the fiscal year 2022 CSBG Annual Reporting Webinar Series. My name is Monica Quintera, and I am a Management and Program Analyst here within the Office of Community Services, Division of Community Assistance. Before we dive in, I would like to go over some housekeeping items. First, everyone has been muted on entry, and we ask that you remain on mute throughout the webinar. Second, if you have questions throughout the webinar, please answer those using the Q&A function on Zoom. We will have time to address those questions at the end of the webinar, and this Q&A is what the presenters will be monitoring, not the chat. So again, please enter your questions into the Q&A function. Third, this webinar is being recorded. This recording, along with a copy of the slides, will be posted to the OCS CSBG webinars page linked here. My colleague Erica will be adding links to the chat as we go, including the link to the webinars page. The slides for the previous webinars and this series have already been posted online, and we anticipate that the recordings will be available in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And we, of course, will send a notice once they are all available. And I will hand it over to the Director of the Division of Community Assistance, Sharice Johnson.
Good afternoon, CSBG state leaders. Good afternoon, CSBG state staff, to our training technical assistance partners who may be on the call today, and to the DCA team. Thank you for joining in. Again, I'm Sharice Johnson. I'm the Division Director for the Division of Community Assistance, where we oversee CSBG. And I want to say I look forward to opportunities to engage with the network. I look forward to making sure you know that I am aware of what's going on. I'm here to support you all in general in regards to the oversight of CSBG, and that I'm also very committed to doing whatever it takes to make sure that we show up strong as in a very collective way to tell the CSBG story, what we're doing to make a difference in our communities, and how we do it best. That's why this conversation today in regards to annual reporting is so important. I'm sure you can kind of read the quote on the slide that you're viewing. I hope it resonates with you. I hope you know is that our goal is to turn the data information that we receive into insight. Insight in my mind means that it turns into a CSBG story. Sometimes it talks about our strengths, it talks about our needs, but taking data and using it as information is a wonderful opportunity to move our network forward. We are counting on all of our states, territories, and tribes to make sure that they submit their data in a way in which they're confident in the data that they're sending. They are also responsive to the requests in order to meet compliance, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But most importantly, that you see the value of submitting data in a timely manner, responding to the annual report requirements in a timely and efficient manner, and most importantly, also reaching out to DCA or the CSBG team to get your questions answered so that we can provide training and technical assistance and anything that you need to be successful as we think about reporting and meet all the compliance areas in regards to CSBG and being a grant recipient. So I just want to say it's important for me to be before you. I look forward to it. I want to make sure that at the same time that we are recognizing the hard work that you all are doing, that you know we're here to support you. And we want to make sure everyone has the tools they need, the information, so that we can tell a better and a stronger CSBG story. So if we move to what to expect during this webinar, you're going to hear from 3 of our leaders in the Division of Community Assistance. You're going to hear from Verna Best, who many of you all know, our CSBG Program Operations Branch Chief. You're going to hear from Monique, who I know many of you all have had some type of interaction with in regards to being a management and policy analyst and the lead over data collection. And you're going to also hear from Nikki, which I'm sure many of you all are familiar with in regards to answering your questions and the technical assistance support that she provides to the CSBG team. These 3 colleagues are really, really excited about the series that you all have presented, have shown up for. They have been steadily preparing, making sure they can be responsive to your questions. So I know for a fact that you're in good hands today as we move forward. Today, what you should expect in this presentation is that we're going to review and kind of close out the series in regards to reporting requirements. And I have to say, please, state administrators and others, please pay attention to the reporting requirements as we try to improve our strategy to get our reports to Congress, to be able to respond to data questions. Is so important that you meet all of the reporting requirements. We're also putting things in place to make sure that in a very supportive way that we nudge you, that if technical assistance is needed, we're here. The webinars of this type are here to support you in meeting the reporting requirements. And just to let you know that we're paying attention, we will nudge you through communication, we will nudge you through outreach, but whatever we're doing, we're here to make sure that we all are successful in meeting all of our requirements. Also, we want to make sure the technical pieces that are involved, that you leave this session with key information regarding OLDC and any details that are necessary for you to be able to submit your annual reports. We want to tell you more about how to access, and so you'll see a demonstration of accessing OLDC today, and and we'll walk you through each of the modules just to make sure everyone is clear. Our goal is that you will leave this session and you will know how to submit each module of the CSBG annual report. And most importantly, we will give you an opportunity to ask questions, share any of your final thoughts, and also you'll hear from our program operations branch chief around how she remembers being a state administrator, and how, we want to let you know that we're sensitive firsthand to the needs in submitting annual reports. I do want to go to the next slide, and the next slide is really talk about reporting requirements, wherein sometimes we hear that we are compliance driven. We are compliance driven because there are certain conditions that have been put in place, or provisions in the CSBG Act that speaks to reporting. I know as new administrators, perhaps you don't know as much about that, and you're learning, and we're here to support you around the importance of meeting the requirements of the Act. I know there are some states that we're just reminding to meet the reporting requirements. And then there's a group that we're saying we have to do better. So in order for us to do that, these webinars are essential. Training technical assistance is essential. Making sure that we're available to you to meet these requirements, but also to make sure that we all know that we have provisions in the CSBG Act that we must meet, and we will reinforce or enforce these requirements through this administration and through our commitment to carrying out the CSBG Act. Reporting and telling our story, I hear it over and over again, is so important, but we can do it best when you are responsive. You submit your reports on time. When you are responsive and you ask us questions and challenge us through training technical assistance, and when you join us in making sure that we have the data that we need to be able to talk about the great work that happens for families, individuals, and communities across the country. So I say thank you again for joining today's discussion. Thank you for joining this series of webinars that we've had on reporting. And I'm going to thank you in advance, because I'm looking for on March 31st, 2023, that we would have submitted. You're going to hear something different later. 90% of all annual reports are in. But that would be ideal. But if we can't get there, let us know, because we want to provide you with the training and technical assistance so that we can meet all of our goals and objectives in sharing the great news about CSBG. So I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Monique, and I'm going to be listening in throughout this webinar, and I'll be available at the end should questions come up that I may be able to contribute to answering them. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sharice. As Sharice mentioned, we will be doing a live demo later in this webinar, and so we will just ask in advance to have some patience with us as we maneuver the screens. But this information should be familiar to you, as we've shared it during every webinar of this series. States are expected to submit the CSBG, CARES, and disaster supplemental annual reports together. OCS does understand that there are unique challenges of administering these funds, which have been particularly pronounced during the pandemic, and for some states and eligible entities, the additional challenge of responding during disasters. We know that you're still working through the aftermath of the pandemic and disasters, and the good news is that for most, this is your last year of reporting CARES and disaster. Please refer back to our webinar on January 4th if you have any questions about the final reporting, or feel free to reach out to your program specialist. You should be familiar with the integrated strategy OCS is using to collect the information for the annual report and both supplemental grants awarded as noted in CSBG Dear Colleague Letter 2021-04. As with last year, these are considered one report. Though you are reporting in separate forms, the CARES and Disaster Supplemental Annual Reports are subsets of your regular CSBG annual report. We also review the reports as one, which is why we do not consider your report submitted until you have submitted all reports, including all the CSBG eligible entities data. As the webinar series comes to a close, we also want to remind you of the full annual report submission process. This slide was originally shared during the December 14th webinar. Again, we believe that understanding this will strengthen you as you are submitting revisions and submitting your fiscal year 2022 report. For new administrators, we hope that you've been able to attend all of the webinars and these terms are now more familiar to you. However, if they are not, please feel free to reach out to your program specialist for some additional training. The first step for modules 2, 3, and 4 is for eligible entities to submit their data to the state via either the SMART form or the state database. While the SMART forms in the state database are the mechanisms for submitting data, eligible entities really should be preparing and collecting their data from the start of the fiscal year and throughout the fiscal year. This way, once the eligible entities receive their SMART forms or the state database becomes available, eligible entities can begin submitting their data right away. Once CSBG eligible entities submit their data, states should review the submitted data to gain an understanding of it and consider whether there needs to be revisions prior to submitting to OCS. States should consider the feedback received during previous reviews. Also, we suggest revisiting the January 4th webinar and last year's webinar, what should states look for? I've asked my colleague Erica to share the link to the fiscal year 2022 CSBG webinars page and the direct link to the webinar recording for the What Should States Look For webinar in the chat for your convenience. Though this webinar was last year, it is still relevant to this year. The information about the SMART forms in the state database was shared this year during our January 4th, 18th, and 24th webinars. As a reminder, it is important to maintain the SMART forms or the data submitted through the state database just in case there needs to be revisions. Once states are confident that the data is ready to be submitted and no additional revisions are needed at this time, the state should export the data from the SMART form or state database to an XML, which essentially is a document that OLDC can read. Once the data is exported to the XML, the state must then upload the XMLs for each CSBG eligible entity into OLDC via grantsolutions.gov. We discussed exporting XMLs during our January 24th webinar. Once OCS, once you've uploaded all the data, states will also begin to directly enter their state level data into the Module 1 form accessible through OLDC. You'll upload the XMLs, and you'll submit the state level forms for modules 2, 3, and 4. We will review this process today. Once OCS reviews all of your data, we'll review the data, and then OCS will send a review memo for each module with feedback to the states. The review memo asks for clarity, correction, or confirmation of the data that you submitted. Then we'll move to finalizing the data. This is when you'll respond to the feedback via the review memo, and we may have additional discussions about your data. And then once you're confident that the data is ready for resubmission, CSBG eligible entities will update their data within the SMART form or state database. States will then re-export, re-upload, and resubmit. The key here is to hit that final submit button. We'll then use this information to tell the CSBG story through the OCS annual report, the CSBG report to Congress, and the CSBG performance management website. Now I'd like to share with you some key details about OLDC accounts. Some of this information has not changed, but there is some new information that myself and my colleague Nikki will also share. The online data collection, or OLDC, allows for secure submission of your data to ACF or to OCS. It permits different roles for different functions. And remember, for the annual report, certification is not required. Additionally, OLDC accounts, they link to login.gov. In prior years, this was not a requirement. Now it is required to usernames and passwords do not work. You must link your account to login.gov, which we will discuss more today. Also, OLDC accounts mandates that there is a separate account for all individuals. So please do not share your password with your colleagues. Everyone should have their own accounts. If you already have an OLDC account, we can add CSBG to that account. These accounts are for state personnel only, and we recommend that each state has at least one user per role, which those 3 roles are the data entry role, the grant administrator role, and the authorized official role. As a reminder, if you're a user with the data entry role, you're able to initialize new reports, edit reports, enter and revise data, and review reports. You're unable to certify, submit, or unsubmit. For those with the grant administrator role, you're able to do everything that the data entry persons are able to do, and also certify, submit, and unsubmit reports. And if you're someone with the authorized official role, you're able to review and certify reports only. When you're reviewing reports, it is read only, so you're not able to edit and revise. You're not able to initialize, and you cannot submit or unsubmit. Now, these are the roles that are assigned when we initially create the accounts, but if any user wants to have different access added to their account, so authorized official does want to be able to edit and revise or submit and unsubmit, we can easily add those roles to the authorized, those functions, sorry, not roles, to the authorized official. So for existing users, this is something new, as I mentioned earlier. You must now link your account to login.gov in order to be able to log into OLDC. Those who have worked with the CSBG state plan are probably already familiar with this, or those who have been submitting revisions for their fiscal year 2020 CSBG annual report are also. But if there's any users who you have not accessed OLDC since the last submission of your annual report, you must do this. The email for your login.gov must match the email in your grant solutions. We ask that during this time, you're verifying your account and making sure that you still have access to the correct reports. And if you need any assistance, please contact myself and Nikki Frazier. And again, we ask that you copy your program specialist as well, and CSBG states. For any new users, there is a new process for requesting new accounts. It used to be that you could submit the request to myself and Nikki. You now must submit the request directly to the Grant Solutions Help Desk, and you must submit a recipient user account request form as well as an OLDC access form. You can email Nikki and me to gain access to these forms. They're also linked in this presentation, which will be available shortly. Grant Solutions Help Desk will then send you the next steps. And if they do not respond to you within 72 hours, please let me and Nikki know. Some tips for completing the OLDC access form. You should enter the information directly into the form. Please be sure to include the organization city on the street address line. In order to select a checkbox, double click on the checkbox, and do not convert the document to a PDF. This is a request by Grant Solutions, so it is a Word document. They ask that you keep it as a Word document. And I will now hand it over to my colleague, Nikki.
Thank you so much, Monique. We will now review how to access Grant Solutions and OLDC. You will access Grant Solutions via the URL https://home.grantsolutions.gov/home/. Grant Solutions is accessible through Google Chrome, which is the preferred browser, Mozilla Firefox, and Microsoft Edge. We do recommend that you save the Grant Solutions URL as a favorite on your computer. This is the Grant Solutions homepage. You will click Login at the top right corner. This will take you to the login screen for Grant Solutions. You will click on login.gov for recipients and grantors. This is the only way to access Grant Solutions is using this button. You will no longer enter your username and password on the right side of the screen. You'll be directed to the login.gov sign-in screen. You will enter your email address and password that is associated with your Grant Solutions account. Note, the email address must match the email address used for Grant Solutions. If you do not have a login.gov account or need assistance linking your Grant Solutions email account, email address to your login.gov, we are providing links to that. One link is created, both of these links are from Grant Solutions. They offer a bevy of assistance, and this is one of the links is for creating a login.gov account, and the other link is for adding a Grant Solutions email address to a login.gov account, and Erica should be putting those links into the chat. If you have any login issues, please feel free to contact me and Monique. Please also copy your program specialist and CSBG states at acf.hhs.gov. Accessing OLDC. We are now switching over to the live demo for this portion. So this is the My Grants list for Grant Solutions. It will have information on the grants associated with your account. At the top right corner is your initials. You will see the drop down at the right of that. If you click the drop down and scroll down to online data collection, this is how you will access OLDC. This is the enhanced page for OLDC. This is called the dashboard, and under the dashboard, you have the option for My Recent Activity. My Recent Activity allows you to view any recent reports that you have currently worked on. You're able to edit. You're able to view the reports that you worked on and also view it under the report form entry, the report form status screen. Also on this page is activity report. You could also view your reports under here and access the report form status page. We're switching over to another screen to continue the process. So to access the reports for OLDC, you will click on report form entry. And under program name, you will use a drop down and select CSBG or any of the reports that you're working on. Next, you will select your grantee name. We're choosing Alabama for this. And then the report that you're working on. So we are going to start with Annual Progress Module 1 for the Module 1 Annual Report.
Thank you, Nikki. Just to quickly discuss some Module 1 key functions. Within Module 1, you can initialize a new report, you can edit, and we're going to go through these different edit functions, and then you can clear errors, validate, and submit. Going back to the OLDC demo, I am going to first initialize the OLDC annual report. Just give me 1 second. Okay, I'm going to initialize the OLDC annual report, module 1 by clicking this plus sign. It'll load for a second, and then the report will initialize. It'll bring you to the report section's homepage. From here, you can clear all the section data. You can edit a section or you can print a section. You can also print the full report by selecting this button. You can also validate from here, and later we'll show you how to also submit from this section. The first thing that we'll ask you to do, and this serves as a reminder, is that you want to make sure that your eligible entities pre-populated from your CSBG state plan before you take any other actions within this report. So in order to do so, you'll go to section C, you'll hit the drop down, click edit section, and then hit go. And when we scroll down, we see that the eligible entity did not populate. So that does mean that you need to contact myself and Nikki to let us know that the eligible entities are not populating correctly. I am going to go back to the form selection and select the state of Hawaii. And go back to module 1. And then I will you'll see that I've already initialized 2022. I'm going to delete this report and start over. And reinitialize the 2022 annual report by clicking the plus sign. So now when I go to section C, I'm going to hit edit section and then hit go. And we can see that all of the entities have populated. This is a signal to you that you are ready to proceed with editing your sections. So first, let's go to section A. As a note to you, anytime you need to go back to the report section screen, you can scroll to the top. You can click report sections and go to report sections. And if you want to navigate between sections, you can also go to report sections and select any section to navigate to. We will go to section A. It'll populate and you'll see that it is section A here. And you'll see that some of the information from your state plan has populated. And anytime you see text with a white background, it means that this is a text box, which allows for you to do narratives, and you are able to edit that information. So whenever you see, again, a white text box, that means that you can edit or revise or enter information. Just to show, if you want to delete information, you can delete the entire thing. You can delete one word. And then you could just type in the new information into that text. The next type of data entry is a radio button. These are characterized by circles, and a circle means that you can only select one of the options available. To deselect, you're not able to just click the button. You would just select a different option, and you could just select whichever option you need. I'm going to go back to other. And then the next option is for checkboxes. So here we do have checkboxes. A checkbox is signified through or characterized as a square. And when you see a checkbox, that does mean you can select all that applies, including other. What you're seeing, once I checked U.S. Department of Agriculture programs and U.S. Department of or HUD, and other is a text box appears, that lets you know that we need more information. So if you check a box and a new square appears or a text field appears, type in your answer in order to satisfy the need to provide additional information. With checkboxes, if you accidentally check one, to deselect it, just uncheck the box and you'll see that white text box also disappeared because we no longer are signifying that we serve those programs. Now, I've previously mentioned pre-populations, and again, information will pre-populate from your CSBG state plan into your annual report. There are two types of pre-populations, some that are revisable and others that are not revisable. And I'm going to go to section D to show that. Again, you can scroll up to report section and just select the section if you want to navigate between sections easily. You can also hit next section or previous section. So in section D, I'm going to scroll down to D.2, and we'll see that 2022 already pre-populated, our target from our CSBG state plan populated, and then we have two more fields. If the text box is white, that means you can edit it. So if I want to change this to 2021, you don't want to do that because it's your 2022 fiscal year. You can make that edit. Now, if there's text and it's a blue background, that means you cannot edit it. So for pre-populations, the ones you can edit as a white field, the ones that you cannot edit are a blue field. Next, I'm going to talk about auto populations. And essentially, auto population means that you've entered data into the annual report, and once you save or validate, it'll update other information throughout the annual report. So for this, we're going to update the number of entities assessed. I'm going to put 4 because there's only 4 entities in the state of Hawaii. And then I'm going to hit save. By scrolling up to the top, I hit save, it refreshes. And now you can see that 4 has come up everywhere where there's a number of entities assessed. So that way you only have to enter it once, and then this form will pre-populate it for you once you hit save. You can also hit validate, but when you hit validate, it will validate the whole form and let you know whether or not there's errors throughout the form. Now, the next thing I'll talk about is auto calculations. You'll see here that there's a 0% throughout this section and down here as well. So I'm going to enter in the number 2 here. I'll enter in a 1. These are supposed to be accumulative, so now we have 4. So this is 0. And then down here, I'll enter in a few numbers as well. Just random numbers, not really thinking about it, but making sure that I'm keeping it to 4 because that's the number of entities we assess. And when I scroll back to the top, I will hit save again, and then we will see that OLDC calculated those percentages for you. And down here as well. So we had pre-populations, which means that information populated into the annual report from your CSBG state plan. We have auto populations, which means you have to hit save in order for those populations to take effect. And then we have auto calculations, which calculates for you. The calculations happens in both section D and section E. Now going to section G, we also allow for cell level attachments. Remember that only with certain questions allow you to attach information rather than type directly into the field. So scrolling down here, if you are wondering whether or not you can attach a document, it's located right here. You'll see a little paperclip next to that question. So in order to actually attach the document, you'll hit the attach button, and this cell levels attachment will pop up. It'll tell you that you're attaching to G.1A. You will choose the file. I'm going to go to my annual report 2022 folder, select Hawaii, and select my attachment. Notice that I named it G.1A, state level linkages and coordination, and that helps us with identifying the attachments as well as we're reviewing your annual report. Once it's loaded, you'll see the name appear here, and then you click attach file. OLDC will run a virus check. I'll let you know that the file is successfully uploaded, and then you click OK. It is going to say pending while the virus check continues to run in the background. If you need to attach a second file to this question, you can do that as well by just running through the same steps. But you do not have to wait for this to turn to save in order for it to go, for you to move forward. You can hit close and go back to editing the report. That will continue to run in the background. While that's doing that, I'm going to go to the next step. And I'm going to go back to the report section page to do this. The next function, once you've entered in all of your data for the annual report, you'll want to click validate. Now, what validate is going to do is going to read the entire report and make sure that you answered all the questions that are required. If a question is required and you didn't answer it, you'll receive an error, and the question was not required, but we just want to make sure you double check the question, you'll receive a warning. So you'll see when we look at this report that there are quite a few errors throughout it, and then we also have a section that's already validated. So if we go to section A, module 1, and we edit that section, let's go check out those errors. And we see that it's item A.2. So this is an error signified because it is a red font. You'll see that it says error in the beginning. And then it'll tell you what question it's referring to, and then additional details about that question. And if you click long description, it'll also tell you, give you some information. And so here the error is saying that under item 8.2, you must select which additional programs the lead state agency administered during the federal fiscal year being reported. So if you recall earlier, I checked boxes, but guess what? I didn't hit save. So OLDC did not save that or register that I checked boxes. So I'm going to go ahead and check 2 boxes again. I'm going to hit validate. And then you'll see that the error has disappeared. And now this section is showing us saved, validated. I also want to give you an example of what a warning looks like. So we're going to go to section E. I'm going to scroll down and you'll see that we have 4 warnings in section E. We will select the first one. And again, the warnings are orange. You'll see warning in the beginning, the item number, a description of that question. And then if you click the long description, it'll say under item E.2, you reported that $0 were obligated or formally committed to each entity. While you're not required to obligate funds, please verify that this is correct. Now, here you'll see that there's a go-to error. If you click that, it'll actually take you directly to the question that they're giving you a warning for. If it is supposed to be 0, you leave it as 0 and you move on. The warning won't clear unless you actually change your response. But again, warnings are not required. They're just a little signal to you. Hey, did you make sure that you actually cleared this information? So I'm just going to enter 5 here. And then I will click validate. And we'll see that that warning disappeared. We used to have 4 warnings. Now we only have 3. I am going to go back to the form selection, and I believe that we have a form that's ready to validate and submit in Alabama. Yep. So here, this is a 2019 report, but the steps are the same for 2022. We see that the report is saved and validated. I'm going to click edit so that we can go to the report section page. And you'll see that all the sections are saved and validated. And you'll also see that the submit button has now appeared. So you'll click submit. OLDC will confirm that you do want to actually officially submit your report. You click OK. This will take you to the report form status page. You'll click OK again. And then you'll see that your report has been submitted on January 26, 2023. You'll also see all the cell level attachments as well. And if you scroll down, you can also see all the steps that have been taken in this report. And I am going to pause there and hand it back to my colleague, Nikki Frazier, to review submitting module 3. Nikki, you may.
Thank you, Monique. So much. I will review module 3. The first thing to know about module 3 is the functions for that is to initialize its form level attachments, validate, and submit. We'll go to the OLDC homepage to show where to look.
Nikki, can you speak up a little bit?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good. We're on the OLDC homepage and you'll click on report form entry. You'll select the program name, again, a CSBG. The grantee name, we're going to Virginia. And then under here, we're going to select the module 3, CSBG module 3 for this one. And again, the reporting period table opens up. We will select for this demo, the reporting period for fiscal year 21 for this demo. Under actions, you hit the plus sign. Then the module 3 report will open up. This is the cover page. So for the cover page, the action that you have is to view add attachments. You will click the view add attachments button, which will send you to the screen to upload your attachments. Under choose file, you will select that. Then your file explorer will open up. You will select the folder or the file that you wish to select. Once you select, that'll populate in the file name section and you'll click open. Then you can see that the file that you selected is next to choose file, the text of that. Then you hit attach file. It will show it's uploading. You will hit OK. While it does its system checks, you'll see again that it shows it's pending. Monique is uploading another document while that document is pending, just to show that you can upload multiple documents. You do not have to wait until they save. Once you select all the attachments that you wish, then you hit close and hit validate from the report progress page. And now you'll see that your report has changed to saved and validated. You are now ready to submit. You will hit the submit button and hit OK to continue. And hit OK with the other pop-up. And it doesn't show as submitted here because one of those files still show as pending. So we can go to edit original, hit validate again, or we can see that it's saved. So hit close and then validate. And then we should be able to submit. And you'll see the pop-up that says, we've now received your submission. You should get an email for that. It is in submitted status or the report form status page. And that is how you perform the actions for module 3. We'll go back to OLDC home. And next, we're going to review the steps for module 2 and module 4. For this demo, we're going to go over module 4. And for those functions, it is export XMLs, upload XMLs, save XMLs, validate, and submit the state level form. So first, we're going to go to report data upload. Here you select the program name. CSBG.
Nikki, just a quick note for new users, the report data upload may not be immediately available. If you do not see that, please contact me and Nikki. We'll make sure it's added to your account.
Thank you, Monique. So we're selecting CSBG. The grantee name, which for here, we're going to Virginia. And then we're going to go to module 4 and select the reporting period. For here, we're going to select the reporting period for fiscal year 2022. So at this point, we know that you have converted your XMLs. So now it's time to upload your XMLs to the report data upload screen. For here, you can either upload them individually and you would click the click here button. And then you will open up your file explorer and select the XMLs that you wish to upload. For that particular function, you can only upload one at a time. If you have more than one XML to upload, we suggest that you drag and drop. You'll go back to your file explorer again, select the XMLs that you wish to upload, and then you will drag them over to the box. You'll see that uploading is in progress. You hit OK with the pop-up. It shows that it's successfully uploaded, and you will see a green check mark in that box. To view the upload status, you will hit the plus sign under My Upload Status. And when you scroll down, you can see the statuses in those files. And right now you see that the 3 that Monique uploaded show as pending. It may take a few minutes or a few seconds to actually upload. So you can continue to click the refresh button until the status changes. Of course, it's temperamental when you're in a live demo. We can see that one has saved.
We don't have to show that they all saved, but I think it's important to talk about.
Oh, there they go. So all of them have saved. So from this, from clicking the refresh button, you can see that under here, once they've saved, you can view these, and you can also go to the report status page. That's the bar if you want to see more information. So now that they've saved, you can now go to OLDC Home and go to the report form entry. Click on that, and the form selection screen opens again.
And then you will complete.
Monique.
Yeah.
And
then
Monique
you-
will take over for here.
Thank you. I thought you were gonna keep going. From here, you'll fill out the report again. Again, we uploaded examples for module 4, so I selected Virginia. I will go to module 4. Here, you fill out the program name, grant name, report name, and then you have to select the reporting period. Remember, this was for fiscal year 2022, so we are going to select October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022. And you'll see that the 3 that I submitted are submitted. And so you want to make sure that this submitted is showing for every eligible entity. So here we see that these are blank next to them. I'm not going to upload all of them now because that's going to take some time, but you'll want to make sure that it is showing submitted for each one under the report status. So going back to the first page, and also if you want to show more entries, you can show 30, and it's just a longer scroll, or you can even show all, and it'll show you all of your eligible entities. So for states like New York and California, where they have a large number of eligible entities, you don't have to scroll through pages, you can change the number of entries that are showing. So for the purposes of this demonstration, we are going to assume that Virginia is only submitting for 3 eligible entities, and we are going to submit the state level form now. Now, this is what signifies to OCS that you have submitted everything that needs to be submitted and that you are completing your submission. To do so, you on the first line, it is the state level form line. You click the edit icon, and then you'll follow the same steps. If I was Verna and give you guys a little quick pop quiz, I would say what comes next. And I think that everyone would put in the chat that what comes next is validate and submit. I gave that one away to you guys, but while it's loading, hopefully it loads sooner rather than later. And of course, it's being temperamental. There it goes. We'll see that we're on the report section screen. Remember that this information does roll up. So if you want to look at your rolled up information for your state, you can click edit section and you can go. You cannot actually make edits here, but you'll see that, oh, it's not working on this one, but I think it's because we need to hit validate. But in the live site, it does show the roll up of all the information. Actually, it's not showing here because I uploaded blank forms. So that's why you're not seeing the data there, but you'll see that's now validated and the submit button appears. So you'll click submit, you'll hit OK, and then you'll see that it's showing and submitted status as of today, January 26th. So just really quickly, again, what is a complete module 2 and module 4? It's a submission of data for all reporting eligible entities. And then it's the submission of the state level form within Grant Solutions. And also if you have comments that you're clarifying your data that you're submitting as part of your submission, you'll also attach it to module 2 or module 4. You can submit one comment form for both modules, or you can submit separate comment forms for each module. The steps that we showed are also the same steps for CARES and disaster as well. Just some final reminders, each module must be submitted separately. The annual report does not require certification. Module 1 is based on the federal fiscal year of October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022. And you must submit your work based on what you've completed during federal fiscal year 2022 with federal fiscal year 2022 funds. Modules 2 and 4 are based on the state reporting period. So that's either the state fiscal year, which is July 1st through June 30th, the federal fiscal year, which again is October 1st through September 30th, or the calendar year of January 1st through December 31st. To review your contacts, we have our lovely group of program specialists, Jessica, Renika, Isaac, Jamia, Andrew, Catherine, and Jake, as well as Jane. And for OLDC technical assistance, you have myself and Nikki. And again, please copy your program specialist and the CSBG states at acf.hhs.gov on all emails. I believe my colleague Erica also linked where you can find this information on the CSBG homepage. Just some quick resources. I'm going to go back to a quick demo of this. So on our community services block grant homepage, that's acf.hhs.gov/OCS program/community services block grant. And Erica is adding that link to the chat. If you scroll down, we have been making updates to it to make this more useful to you. And we have this 3 panels. This first panel is the performance management framework, and it's where you'll be able to find the most up-to-date information related to performance management. You'll see what we have available here is the action transmittal related to fiscal year 2022 annual reporting requirements, as well as the CSBG annual report module 1 fillable form. And you can also click on any the events to see any additional webinars that we have coming up. We also, my apologies. From here, I want to remind everyone that we do have, if you continue scrolling down, our grantee recipient resources, as well as that includes our CARES Act toolkit, our disaster supplemental toolkit, our events calendar, and the CSBG webinars. If you click on the webinars, you can see that we do have this carousel showing the PDFs for each webinar. It will automatically scroll through on its own, but if you don't have patience, you can click this gray arrow and it'll show you all the webinars that we've done so far in this series. And the PDFs for the January 24th webinar, as well as the today's webinar, should be available by next week at the latest. And we are working on having the recordings available. From this page, you can also access prior year webinars by clicking on this little folder, and it'll show you our webinars from 2022 and 2021. Even though they were released in previous years, they're still relevant. So if you want to review information that we released in 21 or 2022, you can click here, including the, going down to the annual report. What should states look for that I mentioned earlier in this webinar? So OCS is working to have as much information and resources available to you. If there's more resources that you need, please let us know. We'll make sure that we're working to get those for you, as well as working with our partners, making sure that you're having the most up-to-date training available. One last thing I want to share before we go into questions and answers. We really want to take a moment to thank everyone for your efforts this past few weeks, the past few months, to revise and resubmit and finalize your reports. We know that it's been a huge lift, and as you know, we have some busy months ahead as well, and we want to help prepare you as much as possible by sharing this timeline. January has really been focused on revising and finalizing both your fiscal year 2023 CSBG state plan to get that submitted and accepted, as well as your fiscal year 2020 CSBG state plan. Again, thank you so much for your responsiveness thus far. February will be focused on your fiscal year 2021 review memos. You should expect to start receiving those next week, and we're asking that everyone responds by February 28th. In March, we're asking that you focus on your submission of the fiscal year 2023 CSBG annual report, and that is ready to submit by March 31st. On our end, we'll be reviewing your responses to the fiscal year 2021 review memo, and you can expect to receive feedback for that and next steps on April 1st or by April 1st. And then we're asking you to review and respond to those by April 30th, so that we can finalize the fiscal year 2021 CSBG annual report by May 15th. We know that this is a eager, tight timeline, but we're hoping to close out fiscal year 2021 so that the time that you receive your fiscal year 2022 reviews, that's all you have to focus on. And just a reminder that May is Community Action Month, and we're really looking forward to that as well. And with that, I'll ask my colleagues, Sharice and Nikki, to come back on camera, and we will answer some questions. Our first question is, what if only the old submissions are showing and not the current report we are supposed to be working on? If that is happening, please contact me and Nikki will look into that to make sure that the appropriate report is showing for you. The next question we have is section 8.3 of module 2 refers to IM 37. Can you give an example of what cost should be represented here? I'm referring to the CSBG annual report, instruction manual released by NASCAS module 2 version 2 release date December 6th, 2018, and want to make sure that this is still valid. So that you can send this information to CAs. We will look into that more, and we're looking at doing additional future webinars about the information in module 2 and module 4. I would like to have a little bit more time to look into that before I give an answer right now. If you email me, the question was submitted by anonymous, so I can't reach out to you, but if you email me and your program specialist, we'll make sure that we get you an answer for that. The next question we had are, what are XMLs? An XML is essentially an HTML that is created once you export your smart form, which is an Excel sheet, into a new document. And there's a button on the outstanding warnings and errors tab of each smart form that allows you to click the button to export. We did show how that works in our January 24th webinar, and those slides will be available tomorrow, I believe. I'm looking at Nikki to confirm.
By tomorrow, yes.
Yes. And I do believe that we do have some step-by-step Word documents with steps for uploading the XMLs. So you know what? That's a good question. We'll make sure that's added to the CSBG performance management panel that I showed earlier today, so that you have that available to you.
I have a link that I can also put in the chat for the steps.
Thank you. We were asked, is there a Word doc version of CARES Module 1? There is not a Word doc version of CARES Module 1. We can work to make one available. So I see who asked that question, and we'll make sure that we get that to you. Sharice, we have a question for you. Unrelated but pressing any ETA on award letters for Q2 award letters or Q2, Q4 since budget passed.
So if I'm understanding the question correctly, when will should grant recipients expect to receive Q2 funding based on the FY23 budget?
Yes.
My response to that is, once we have approval to release the funding, because it goes through a process, we will release as soon as possible. We are at the same time preparing an announcement that we're going to send out to the network. If we're not able to meet that January 31st deadline, we're going to provide you an update. So I appreciate the question. We're going to keep you updated. But as of today, we're still waiting to get final approval to release funding. But we'll keep you informed.
And I am not seeing any additional questions. Oh, we do see, can you upload from a Google Drive, or do you have to do it through Explorer? Yes, you can upload from a Google Drive. So wherever you are storing your documents, you can upload those into OLDC. And if you're having any issues, Nikki and I can jump on a phone call with you to walk you through that. And again, if you need additional TA, reach out to your program specialist, letting them know what TA you're looking for, or technical assistance you're looking for, and we'll schedule the meeting with the appropriate people on the phone. So whether it's the program specialist, myself, some of our training and technical assistance providers, we'll make sure that we get some one-on-one training scheduled for you. I'm not seeing any additional questions. If you do have more, feel free to enter them into the chat or again, contact myself or your program specialist. And with that, I will hand it over to Verna Best.
Hello, 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 everyone. Hello. They tried to keep me off the webinar, but I found a presenter's link and let myself in. I want to start by echoing Sharice's thoughts about meeting the reporting requirements outlined in 678E and why it really matters. And it matters because poverty still exists, and we want to be able to demonstrate our capacity and effectiveness as a network to mobilize resources so that family by family and community by community, we witness empowerment, revitalization, and ultimately poverty reduction as we see outlined in our legislation. She also challenged us to turn data into information and information into insight. You know, what does the data tell us and what should we do as a result? What should we possibly stop doing? And what could we do better? Just some of my thoughts as I was listening. But now that I've gotten that out of the way, let me do my assignment for today. PEAK, 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 the acronym that we are using to rebrand the Division of Community Assistance messaging around performance management. As you've heard multiple times now, PEAK stands for performance, evaluation, accountability, accessibility, and knowledge. And as you can see on the graphic, each area of the performance management framework is reflected under those areas. In the essence of time, I'm only going to highlight 3 areas of the framework. Under performance, I'll share that we will be giving additional information about the upcoming cycle for participation in the American Customer Satisfaction Index during our second round of regional quarterly calls, which kick off next week. If you have forgotten when your region's call is being held, Erica, I'm going to ask if you will also pop the link to that information in the chat so that everyone can plan accordingly. For purposes of today, you will note that the CSBG annual report is embedded in the accountability, accessibility, and knowledge portions of the framework, which underscores its importance as it relates to compliance, data integrity, and accessibility in telling the success story of CSBG, and knowledge as it relates to you accepting responsibility for what the data tells you about the story you are telling and how you adjust your performance to make sure you are telling the story you want to be able to tell with documented evidence. As a former state administrator, I know, trust me, I know the annual report and OLDC, I didn't even know what OLDC was when I first started. I know it can be intimidating, but I want to assure you that the Office of Community Services, in collaboration with our national TNTA partners, are here to support you through it. And we are climbing. As you see us internally setting the bar on performance on the slide. Now listen, the slide says 80%, and I'm sure that's because Monique begged us to set a SMART goal. She wanted us to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound based on the performance trends in 2021 and 2022. You may have heard Sharice say she wants at least 90%. However, I'm going to challenge you to go for the goal and let's hit the 100% mark. That would be really epic. I mean, that would actually be peak performance, and pun was intended. But I believe we can do exactly that. So it wouldn't be me if I didn't engage you before we conclude the webinar. So let's get your typing fingers and emojis ready. We've got 3 things for you to respond to. Are you ready? I'm taking it as a yes. So here we go. First question. When is the annual CSBG report due? When is the annual CSBG report due? Let me check the chat and see what's going on. Okay, we're getting March 31st, and that would be absolutely correct. Let's go quickly to question number 2. Question number 2 is, what is the name of the system in which you should upload your submission of the annual report? Oh, we got some quick fingers on the draw. OLDC. OLDC is correct. For bonus points, who can tell me exactly what OLDC stands for? Let's see if anybody gets that. What does OLDC stand for? Online data collection is correct. Thank you for those responses. And that was a bonus question. So this is the last question for sure. Get your emojis ready. Using your emojis, how would you respond to this session? Using your emojis, how would you respond to this session? You all are fantastic. As always, thank you so much for your participation. Let's really do our parts to reach our peak. And I certainly hope that you have a productive and wonderful rest of your day. Take care, everyone.